$1 million. Free to play. You just need to survive. It's the Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Pick one team to win each week. Get it right, move on. Get it wrong, you're out. The last fan standing take home a guaranteed $1 million cash prize. And for every player who joins, we add $1 to the pot, up to $10 million. The Fanatics NFL Survivor Pool. Play free on the Fanatics app. App access open to all. Must be 21 plus and joined by 9/8 to play. No purchase necessary. U.S. only. Void where prohibited. Subject to complete terms. See fanatics.com/game rules.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning, family. Hello there. How are you? It's me, TJ, here from the corner of 49th and 3rd in Midtown East, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight. Thanks to Tony and Bill there, lifting me up and looking after me, all of my technical needs, playing the music and looking after all you guys as well. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm grateful. I'm in a state of gratitude. I'm in a state of gratitude, and I want to say, you know what? My instinct says I'm in a state of confusion, but I'm not. I tend to pull my punches now and then. I'm not so fortified in my convictions on certain subjects. And even right at that moment, just a second ago, where I was going to say I'm in a state of confusion about Minneapolis and that shooting spree, that shooting attack, the murder of those little Catholic children and the shattering of all the lives associated. And I'm trying to evolve in real time with you guys on this. Not even evolve. I'm trying to, you see, even right there, I'm trying to acknowledge and embrace what I know, what I really believe, and I have faith. I'm convicted, and I do believe it to be fact that was absolutely. Now, it's not a stretch to say that this guy was mentally unbalanced, that it was mental illness. Clearly, he was sick. The shooter was sick. The murderer was not right. He was not right. And the idea that I'm embracing and trying to be a little bit more bold and upfront in my statements and more resolute is that this transgender thing, and you know what, I'm trying to think of the umbrella term, and I'll just say the trans movement. We'll say the trans movement. You can say trans situation. But when I'm saying trans, I'm talking about the larger umbrella conversation that has suddenly devolved to the point where we're talking about children being changed because they say, with that little bit of experience on this planet, that they are not who everybody thinks they are, that they are trapped in the wrong body. Now, I'm not throwing a caveat at this. This is an honest, again, gut. You know what I'm not, okay? You know what I'm not. And that's not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. But I'm like you. I'm walking around this planet, and 9 times out of 10, when you judge that book by its cover, you're right. And every once in a while, yes, of course, somebody will be better off living their life as the pretending to be the opposite sex. Now, Christine, who called up, if you were listening to Rita Cosby's brilliant show, as always, last night, Christine from Connecticut called up. And Christine is a fascinating human being, a compelling individual with an incredible, compelling story, who has late in life, after a full, complete life, that I believe I heard her say she almost took herself out. But a life that was in sports, professional sports, college sports, covering sports, and as a sports journalist, always finally eventually transitioned from a man to a woman. And that was only after years and years and years of strife and trouble and struggle and therapy. And as she put it, yeah, she had to earn it. She had to earn it. Caitlyn Jenner spent a lifetime earning it. And that tiny nano pool, that small number of people around the globe who did it the old fashioned way of going to doctor after doctor after doctor and appealing to panels of surgeons who would then contemplate and debate amongst themselves and quarrel and vote and reconvene, and they'd stop and they'd go and they'd go back to their home medical practices, and then they'd come back and they'd meet again, and the hospitals would all get together, and then the lawyers would get involved, and ethical experts and psychologists and all of this. And then finally, a consensus would be reached and somebody would be allowed to gradually transition. Now we are secretly, clandestinely, because an 11-year-old says, I don't want to be a boy anymore. I want to be a girl. I don't want to be a girl. I want to be a boy. Call me Brian instead of Brenda. Call me, Tina instead of Tommy. And I'm not being cute about this. But for some reason, that is just it's embraced, and it's not embraced just by some elite, politicians and some high level medical people who are looking to make gains. But certainly those are the people that are embracing this new vile, craven, scary movement of just ushering children after the first inkling of wanting to have a different identity. Well, yes. And now comes the red carpet, the rainbow carpet. And yes, Brenda, it is. You got it. And what? You don't think, you know what? You let us know if we need to tell you. We don't have to tell you. It's people. It's pedestrian. It's ground level. It's just the English teacher at the school. It's the middle school, social studies teacher. Those are the people that are pushing this. It's the really dangerous, low-level people on your board of education who are embracing this and pushing this scary, scary stuff. And so, over these last couple of days, I finally allowed myself this honesty Because, yeah, you know what, man? The left is good at what they do. And even a big mouth, loud mouth like me, even somebody who goes on TV and goes on radio solely for the purpose of expressing my opinions and trying to engage and have conversations and maybe say it kind of funny or say it kind of energetic or say it kind of whatever, you know, with a little bit of a punch, get a conversation going. Somebody like me, what the left does, it works on me. I got to admit, I don't like being called names. I don't like thinking that they're telling people that I'm a bigot. They have got me convinced sometimes when I'm in weak moments that I'm completely wrong and that I am not judging that book by its cover. But I know I'm right. And you know you're right. What's happening to these kids and what's happening is just so bizarre and weird, and it can't be normal. And it's again, and we're looking right past what we know, and it's the same, and we find ourselves kind of tiptoeing around things like climate shenanigans, all of that hysteria, the climate hysteria. You know, they're good at it. You and I both know that what's happening around the planet is a natural cycle. Yeah, we should absolutely have, you know, clean air and clean water. Of course. But don't tell me that because we invented, you know, engines and burned coal for a couple 100 years, that suddenly we are like reversing the core and turning this earth upside down. Us measly people. Shut up. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And so this gender thing, this trans movement, this trans subject, this trans, this force feeding. That's it. This boy, this man, 23 years old, was sick. And it was, and he was all over the place at the end, this poor bastard. This guy was all over the place. He was regretting in that manifesto. He says, I only keep the long hair because it's pretty much the last shred of being trans. I am tired, but yet then he says in the next one, I am tired of being trans. I wish I never brainwashed myself. I can't cut my hair now. It would be embarrassing. It would be defeat. It might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. He says, it will always get in my way. I will probably chop it on the day of the attack. He later wrote that he regretted being trans and just wished he was a girl. I regret being trans. I wish I was a girl. I just know I cannot achieve that body with the technology we have today. And even if he could achieve that body, which actually he can achieve that body, ultimately he's not a girl. This fantasy. And now look, if he showed up at my doorstep having transitioned, because I'm a good human being, because you're a good human being, I am very confident that, like me, you would treat this guy, if he was still alive and had been a normal mentally ill person who sought help, if he had ultimately gone through and I would have called him by his feminine name. I would have called him by his female name. I would have deferred. I do that because I'm not a jerk. But I'm more of a jerk when I do that and I kick myself for not believing that they're actually a woman, which I never got to that point. But I can treat people like that with respect, but it doesn't mean that I'm buying into the fantasy that they have in fact become a woman. I'll call you your name and I'll say she. Okay, fine. I got other fish to fry. And by the way, I'm not angry right now. I'm not suddenly angry, TJ, by the way. I'm frustrated. I'm kind of having a bit of a cleanse here with all of you guys. 1-800-848-9222. If any of this, by the way, please jump in. If you have had any similar thoughts, self-realizations, rationalization, if I'm wrong, if in your mind I'm wrong, I'm telling you, I'm not going to agree with you. This is not going to be one of those things where I'm going to be turned around on the air. It's happened in the past on intellectual issues, but this is physical. It's a physical thing that these people are not actually becoming men or women from the other. And it's a mental thing because they think they are. And I believe the people that support all of this stuff, in fact, are mentally ill themselves. It is what it is. And by the way, to go a little further, the Democrats who coddle this sort of mental illness, the Democrats who enable these situations to happen, rather than seek to help these people at the root cause, they love that phrase. The Democrats who enable this sort of mental illness, they do it to further their own political position, to line their coffers, whether it's politically, professionally, or otherwise. And as far as I'm concerned, what happened in Nashville with that trans shooter and what happened here in Minneapolis and I don't want, for the last time, the left, those Democrats, when you post stuff on Facebook, right? Like me, when you put stuff on Instagram, when you're out there on social media and you comment on this, don't you just love it when you get the pushback from the left? When you get the pushback talking about what about all of those poor children, all of those teens and tweens who have dysmorphia and have and wish to and kill themselves, who die of suicide, all those children who die of suicide because they struggle with their identity. That is not on me. That is, in fact, on the Democrats, the liberals, the leftists, the democratic socialists. That is on all of them. That is on you, the Democrat. And not even, and look, and if you're a Democrat who doesn't even dabble in this sort of thing, if you're a Democrat who's just in it for the labor thing, if you're a Democrat who's just in it because, well, I was just going to say you're for women's rights, but Democrats walked away from that ages ago. But if you're a Democrat for whatever flipping reason you think you need to be a Democrat, but you don't speak out against these trans identity lunatics, these people who selfishly use kids who are confused and mentally ill and support removing their parents from the process, remove their parents from even having knowledge of what their kids are dealing with. Can you believe that it's a law in places like Minneapolis? And a regulation and a law and a policy in states around the country and in governments around the world where if a kid wants to be called a different name or whatever stupid pronouns, that the schools won't tell mom and dad. And they'll even put the child in touch with therapists that will, in fact, encourage them and lead them further down the path of transition without telling the parents. 1-800-848-9222. And speaking of laws, speaking of laws, if this mental illness that the murderer suffered from, if this mental illness was on the books in Minneapolis as a derangement, as a mental illness, and not on the books as a social cause, and not on the books as an issue that requires support and affirmative action and affirmative care, gender affirming care. If this was on the books as the mental illness that you and I both know it is, isn't there a good chance, tell me if I'm wrong, isn't there a good chance that there would have been red flags and this guy would not have been able to purchase these guns legally like he did? 1-800-848-9222. I wonder if this guy would have not had a more difficult time buying the guns legally that he used to kill these babies. But because it's an issue that we just don't understand, and we're the bigots, we're the meanies, we're the closed-minded. And again, I'll never, ever again pause for a moment when a leftist throws at me, oh, well, what about how many kids need to die of suicide? How many kids who want to transition need to die by their own hand before you will open your mind? No, you open your mind. How many kids have to die? And by the way, being suicidal is a mental illness. How many young people have to die before you realize that you are enabling those suicides? You are enabling that conversation with this kid. So absolutely infuriating. And I'm so done. I'm so absolutely done with this conversation and with being intimidated. There is absolutely no further evidence of mental ill. There is nothing that says mentally ill to me. I mean, think about it. Think about your life. Think about life in general. Think about what scares you. Think about what confuses you. Think about what has been a conundrum in your life. Think about the times that you thought you were losing your mind. Okay? Think about some of the people you know that are a little off center. Think about the people that you know that are straight up crazy. Think about some of the people you know that have had breakdowns. Think about the people you know who maybe have committed suicide or have been suicidal. Of all the things and all the reasons that they found themselves in those situations, what bigger red flag, what shinier red flag, beacon, siren, whoop, 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 what bigger warning could there be other than telling somebody, yeah, you know what? I look like a guy, but really I'm a girl. I'm telling you that I was born, get this, in the wrong body. Now, I'm not, I swear to God, I'm not judging. I'm telling you, that is mental illness. And rather, the Democrats, the left, rather than doing the right thing and seeking to treat these people and seeking to make them better. even if it ended up leading to an eventual gotta earn it version of transitioning, okay? But rather than helping them, the left, Democrats, those selfish people that you know and I know, they would rather they would rather tell them, yes, you're right. They would rather help them drink their own Kool-Aid and drive them further down a road of illness and confusion and depression and ruin their lives, all in the name of furthering some stupid, sick social cause and furthering their own political ambitions or just their own narcissistic, personal, liberal, leftist egos. 1-800-848-9222 is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We'll come back with your calls here on 77 WABC.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. 2:36 here in Midtown Manhattan, and great to be talking to you. I've got a lot of that off my chest. It's been building up since that all went down earlier in the week. And, but again, I'm sorry. It just is what it is. We're talking about, I've been talking about the Minneapolis shooting, and that once and for all, we have to address and carry on the conversation about the whole trans movement. Again, I'm trying to think of the best umbrella terminology. That it's mental illness. These are people that are not right. And ultimately, the small handful of people who really, it is best that for them and everyone in their lives that they transition. That is something that, as a caller to Rita Cosby's show, Christine from Connecticut, has said, it's something you got to earn. It's not something that's supposed to be served up. Like a menu. What do you want? What do you want to be? What do you want? You want you want to be called a different name? All right. Let's see now. After that, could I maybe interest you in some puberty blockers? Would you like that? Would you like to maybe lose some of that hair that you just started to grow? Maybe? Would you? Okay. Well, all right. That sounds good. Okay. Well, let's see. Perhaps if that works out, maybe, I'm not promising, but maybe Tina, maybe we could, after we've slowed things down and got rid of some of that hair and all that stuff, maybe we can actually slide you in for some surgery. Now you'll be asleep. You won't feel anything. Okay. Well, yes, you can have your teddy bear, in the operating room, of course. And we'll get all the paperwork done before your parents even know. So don't worry about that. And we can have, your private bits removed and made to look, yes. Huh? Sounds good. Okay. Want a lollipop? That's, that's the sick world. Brought to you by the Democratic Party. Yes, your Democratic Party. You're a bunch of liberals. 1-800-848-9222. Sergio in New Jersey is on line one. Good morning there, Sergio. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? How are you, man?
I'm good.
I'm just as irritated and pissed off as you are with this whole situation in Minnesota. Perfect example with the mental illness and stroking the flames and the egos of these mental ill people, like Jake Tapper. Like, he couldn't even be on TV and couldn't even say the right thing to say was that this man murdered, this man opened fire, this man went into this church and, assaulted and killed people. Like, he was more concerned about this person's, I guess their call signs. I'm a her now. I'm a girl.
Right. Yeah, their pronouns.
He was saying she and she and she. It wasn't. It's why are you carrying the bucket? Like, I don't understand the methodology behind it. I mean, you're pushing this mental illness. The Democrats have been on this grandstanding with this for the longest time. It's been since at least 2015. And it's just getting worse. And they're getting worse. They're getting more diabolical. They're getting meaner. They're getting uglier. They're getting more mental illness, on their own end as it stands. It's mind-boggling.
It is.
It's just mind-boggling. Is it from their parents being on Adderall or drugs when they were growing up? Is it all the hair dye that's in their mother's heads that's leaking through their and into their bloodstream? That's
you know what I think it is, Sergio. You know what I think it is. I think it's the fact that the people on the left believe that they're on the side of the angels. They really believe that. Now, look, you and I both are convinced that we are intellectually correct on this. We know what we see when we look at these people and we look at that group of Democrats and these people who say they want to transition. You and I intellectually know that we're correct intellectually, factually. What the other side is, they are deluded and they think they have got such a moral high ground. They think they're on the side of the good angels. And when they lay down all of this stuff, including the guilt on us, for being closed-minded, they believe that they come from a spot of the ends justify the means. The ends justify everything. And you know what? The everything includes riots. The everything includes anti-Semitism and chanting and scaring the daylights out of Jewish college students. The ends justify young people being transitioned without their parents' knowledge. It's narcissism from these Democrats. That's what it is. They think they're better than us. You and I we just know we're right. They think they're better than you and me.
Like you said, they encourage it. They're so in tune to doing the ugliness behind it all. Like they're using people for their own political gain.
Yes, they are. 100%. And people, and not only are they using people, they're deluding those people. They're taking vulnerable people. Here's a phrase out of the Democratic lexicon. They take vulnerable people. They use vulnerable people and they take them and they use them and their mental illness, as you're saying, Sergio, to further their own personal gain. Or in some cases, they're not even big time politicians. They're just doing it to further satisfy their own little selfish ego. They're doing it.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood too. They're just as guilty. These people are adopting kids or like what's her name? I forget her name.
Oh,
she got a little
Angelina Jolie, Madonna, pick one.
There's a host of them, yeah. And they're grooming these kids the same exact way. Like, they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and they're running around with dresses. Like, and they're okay with it. It's just not normal.
I know.
It's sick.
I know.
It's sickening.
I know, buddy. Sergio, thank you for calling, Pally. Thank you, buddy. It's 77 WABC, 1-800-848-9222. It's another side of midnight with me, TJ McCormick. We're talking about what happened in Minneapolis and calling a spade a spade. And it just is what it is. It's mental illness, and the other side takes advantage. They're taking advantage. You Democrats, you closed-minded lefties are taking advantage of vulnerable people. People who need help. You're not helping them. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? How does that feel, Democrats, to be accused of being cold and cruel and selfish? 1-800-848-9222. By the way, in the next hour, I don't know if you're aware of the fact that the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Republic of China, the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, yes, the CCP, they have got a foothold, physically and politically, here in New York and around the United States. And they have been doing their damnedest, and in some cases been successful, in influencing elections. And recently, Assemblyman Matt Slater, representing representing the Hudson Valley, in Albany, introduced legislation to put an end to this. We're going to talk to Matt Slater in the next hour. And in the 4 o'clock hour, we are going to be talking about sobriety, as we always do for a little while in that last hour on a Saturday morning. We talk about experience, strength, and hope. We talk about recovery. We talk about sobriety. Talk about booze and drugs. We've talked about hoarding. We've talked about gambling addictions and retail addictions and sex addictions. We do all that in the 4 a.m. hour. Here on this Labor Day Friday. Saturday morning, Saturday morning of Labor Day weekend. 1-800-848-9222. Let's take our break. Let's take our quarter of the hour break. And when we come back, we'll talk to Joaquin and we'll talk to Rick, right after this here on 77 WABC.
All night long. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
My weekend culminates on Monday of all days. I'm going to go catch Oasis. I'm going to see Oasis on Monday at MetLife Stadium. They're in town Sunday and Monday night. Yeah, Liam and Noel are back at it. And by the way, another piece of this conversation here on Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ, talking about Minneapolis, talking about the gender issue and the identity issue and who's right, who's wrong. I'm right, they're wrong. Took care of that. But also, they're soft targets. They're soft targets and they've got to be hardened. I mean, I hate to use like typical cliche lexicon and sound like I'm some sort of former police officer or something like that. Okay. But they're soft targets and they've got to be protected. And, it's amazing. The same people that complain about our schools being shooting galleries. Well, we all complain about our schools being shooting galleries, but you have one side. Isn't it amazing when you hear the left? And look, I am constantly at odds with my school district, my school board. They hate my guts, and I love that they hate my guts because I'm right and they're wrong, most of them. But when I sit there in some of these school board meetings and I hear these leftists come up and talk about, we don't need our schools to be prisons. We don't need military installations. We don't want to traumatize our children with people endangering them because it can be traumatic with the gun and the thing. You idiots. You walk into a jewelry store, there's an armed guard. You walk into a bank, there's an armed guard. You walk into the Grand Central, they're armed guards. You walk down the street, you see armed guards, you see police. Remember when it was all about the police? The cop is your buddy And, Officer Flattery with the give him an apple and I don't know, whatever from the Abbott and Costello shows. But no. The left, the Democrats, they don't want to protect your, look, it's simple. They don't want to protect your children. You know what? Again, I'm not going to pull the punches anymore. I'm not going to kind of almost say the whole truth. No. Democrats, okay, not all Democrats, but certainly there's no Republicans on this side of the issue. So I'll just say Democrats don't want to protect your kids at school. They don't want to protect their own damn kids at school. They have no problem protecting diamonds. They have no problem protecting a couple of $100,000 in cash at the local Chase. But whatever you do, do not show any force or, God forbid, any weapons at the place where our kids walk around with nothing more than backpacks for protection. Holy God Almighty, the reason they sell backpacks with Kevlar plates in them is because of Democrats like you. Ooh, I'm done with them. I'm so done with them. 1-800-848-9222. Let's get over to Rick on line 1. Rick in New Jersey. Good morning and thank you for calling.
Yes, good morning, TJ. Good morning, sir.
What's up?
I believe that the corporate America and even the government has a lot of responsibility here because they just bought into it, completely just because it was there.
Mm.
Remember the Marines had rainbow helmets?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was really going to make us, be the man you want to be if you're a girl. I don't understand.
No.
I actually had to retire because I couldn't take it anymore. I worked on Broadway, and Broadway's very liberal. Very
God,
liberal.
it's arguably more liberal than Hollywood in terms of, per capita. It is. It's scary.
It is. And I couldn't take it anymore. I had to call people they. One person, they. And it's like, they is here. And it's like, no.
It went against all of your grammatical principles.
Yeah, I couldn't call them man or women.
Right.
I couldn't call a pregnant woman. It had to be a pregnant person.
Mm-hmm.
It was like all these rules and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when they told me I had to let these big burly guys go into the women's bathroom because they just felt like they were a woman. I said, but they're not even dressed like a woman. Well, but they feel like one today. Right. They were one yesterday, and then not today, and then again tomorrow. So, it's like, no, I can't do this. Yeah. I agree. I retired. It was just
wow. Were you a union guy on Broadway? Well, you had to be if you were working.
Yeah. I was backstage doorman. I was the guy who said you could come in and you can't.
Fascinating work.
Yeah, it was.
Until it wasn't.
And it was so much fun until that crap came out.
Yeah. You know what? You want to hear something fascinating? I don't know if you heard the show one time when I was talking about an experience at my homeowners association, my community there's a pool and a clubhouse and a community. And one day this summer, a man came dressed in a bikini, a women's bikini. And he's not transitioning. He's not anything to do with this kind of conversation. He's genuinely deranged because this guy had a shaved head. He wasn't in the process of transitioning. He was wearing a bikini top, but there was no boobs under construction. There was nothing like that. And this guy was clearly not transitioning anywhere else either. He even had hair on his body. So this guy was not attempting to be or appear as a woman other than wearing a very skimpy thong bikini. Anyway, fast forward here, Rick. Okay. So this is what happened over the next couple of weeks. It became a big conversation and the community and the security guards were there and they were taking notes and this guy came back again. Long story short, the homeowners association has decided that it was in our community's best legal interest to let this guy. And again, he's just a guy, a sick guy who's getting his kicks dressed like this in front of kids. They decided, Rick, that this guy is going to be allowed. And once I told my wife this, we have 2 daughters. You can imagine how she went off. This guy is going to be allowed into the women's, not bathroom, but changing room. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, okay? Absolutely.
But dig this. Here's the kicker. And I noticed this morning in the men's changing room at the gym. There is a sign up in our men's gym locker room that says, do not, and this makes sense too, because some guys get their kicks as well. You never know. But it says, do not walk around naked in the men's locker room. It's inappropriate because children of all ages use this locker room. So don't just be one of those old, odd Korean War veterans who's walking around naked because everybody did in the 50s. Let's not freak out the kids. Don't be naked. So here's the deal at my homeowners association. This guy can walk into the women's locker room in front of women and girls, but men cannot be naked in the men's locker room. Welcome to 2025.
It's amazing, isn't it? Isn't it amazing? I
absolutely nuts.
I almost got fired this is how woke Broadway is, and I almost got fired for saying the word picnic. Like you're going to have a picnic.
What?
I was taking my lunch out.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I'm going to have a little picnic here. And the guy says, you can't say that. It's racist. I said, what?
What?
He goes, it means you want to kill a black man.
What?
I said, what? Oh, yeah. They say it means pickaninny.
Oh, for the love of God. Okay.
According to Farrakhan. That's what they told me. Okay. I got called to the carpet.
Well, you know what?
TJ, I got called by, all of a sudden I get a call from HR. And they go, you need to come down here right away.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and they said, you got to stop being racist. I go, what are you talking about? Right. And I said, where? I said, I just looked it up in the dictionary. It comes from a French word meaning to pick food.
Yes.
And he goes, no, we go by Farrakhan's dictionary.
Right.
Farrakhan.
Right.
I said, well, when did that become, Webster?
What happened to Lerner and Lowe? All right. Yeah, right. I got a jump break, but thank you so much for calling in. All right. So listen, gang. We're gonna, you know what? We're on a roll here. So I'm gonna keep, I'm gonna make sure we get through all these calls at the top of the next hour. It's gonna be very, very quick, very, very quick. You know how quick the top of the hour break is. So Joaquin, stay there. Charlie and Marianne, stay right where the heck you are. And, when we come back, we will, continue this conversation about, mental illness, gender, transition, protecting kids, protecting children, right from right, wrong from wrong, knowing what we know, judging the book by its cover, because sometimes, damn it, we are correct when we do so. And we know what we see, and that's it, right, gang? So we'll talk about this. We'll keep it going. And, then also in the next hour, we will talk to New York State Assemblyman Matt Slater, about his legislation that he's introduced to eliminate the influence of the Chinese Communist Party in New York State elections. And a couple of other things. AI is out of control. People are now killing themselves with the help of AI. AI is encouraging people to kill themselves and, in fact, telling them how to do it. 1-800-848-9222. I'm TJ McCormick. This is Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. Stay right there.
It's Another Side of Midnight. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
All right. Good morning again there, family. This is Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ, here on 77 WABC. My gratitude to every single one of you there listening and making the show better. I'm really appreciating your engagement, your support, and being a part of it. And speaking of family, by the way, I can't believe I'm just been so damn remiss in not mentioning this. My mom just had her birthday this morning, and she's always listening because she's one of those great moms who's like, I'm 57 years old. She just turned 65, which is, it's amazing how she's able to maintain that age for all these years. She's 65 years old, had me at 8. And, so happy birthday there, Mom, Joni. Sorry, I'm a little late with that, but, again, she's one of those people that got me to love talk radio and is more thrilled, arguably, than I am, which is impossible to imagine that anybody could be more thrilled that I'm sitting here looking into this microphone, looking at these windows, talking to you. Thank you, God. Seriously, thank you, God. 1-800-848-9222. We'll get into that thank you, God stuff in the next hour when we talk a little bit about recovery and why the hell I'm still alive. I got a quick question for anybody who's sober. Keep this in mind. Here you go. If you're sober, let me ask you this. As I look at my Diet Coke, are there any okay addictions? I'm really hoping you say yes. I'm really hoping you say yes. All right. Let's get over to, Charlie in Cherry Hill. Good morning. Welcome. Line 4. Charlie, you're on Another Side of Midnight. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I want to say you're absolutely right about the Democratic Party. You hit the nail on the head when you said the ends justifies the means of those people. And that's how they're able to be so vicious and cruel to us. And they look down upon us as a bunch of troglodytes or closed-minded people or just rotten people. They really do. They think they're morally superior to the rest of us. And it's just awful they can make the decisions they make. But there's some people on our side of it, they're talking about Republicans, they love this stuff because the Democrats are so nuts that they're just going to alienate people and people are going to vote Republican. Like I was talking to this lady, she's an aide, she works for Ted Cruz in Washington, and she was saying, like, with this guy Mamdani running for mayor in New York City, if he gets elected, and there's a lot of people, Southern Republicans, they hope Mamdani does get elected because he'll drive people out of New York City. He'll drive Jews out of New York City. He'll drive business out of New York City. He wants to appoint as the chancellor of his public schools the guy Jamal Bowman. You remember the congressman who ripped off the fire alarm?
Absolutely.
He set the fire alarm because a Republican was giving a speech.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? Shame. And Charlie, shame on these Republicans who and look, I get it. Strategically, you go, all right, look, this Mamdani gets in. We're going to bring in more money to our coffers. That's going to increase our numbers. It's going to be a rallying cry. We're going to all run look, Charlie, I run political campaigns from time to time. I'm a Republican consultant. I say that, as a disclaimer almost. And I'll tell you, of course, guys who do what I do and I do that, we're all saying, look, we're going to hang Mamdani right around these guys' necks because you know what? We've all worked with Republicans who were closely associated with Trump and they would lose elections because they were called a Trump acolyte, et cetera. So it's unfortunate that in some cases we embrace the presence of some of these low-life liberals because in some way hey, look, man, you made a great point about New York. A report came out, yesterday that there's only about 70,000 millionaires left in New York. It's only about 70,000 millionaires left in New York. It's amazing to think that that's a small number, but they're gone already. They're gone. The class of people that are going to be able to be taxed and carry this state, let alone New York City, is diminishing. And Mamdani gets in. To your point, there's going to be another mass exodus. I don't know if this city can afford it. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for calling in. 1-800-848-9222. Marianne in Jersey. Marianne in New Jersey. Good morning.
Hello. How are you? You're so blessed to still have your mom.
Yes.
I'm 67 and I just retired from education. Oh. And I come from an urban setting. And I can tell you back in the day, you could just walk into the schools. All the doors were open. Sure. You could go into the side door, the back door. Sure. But anyway, now I believe anywhere people are gathered, you really have to have security in mind. Mm-hmm. Even in this, wherever you are, even in New York City, with the office building where that poor police officer was killed.
Yep, that's three blocks from here. That's 3 blocks from this building.
Oh, terrible. Yep. It's just terrible. And I think what my district did can happen and work for whether it's an office building, no matter what, wherever you are. And so what they did was they created, I don't know if you remember, it's like they were older school buildings, but you could build this. Mm-hmm. When you go into the school, there was a large vestibule.
Oh, yeah.
So there was the first set of doors.
Sure.
And then you would walk into the second set.
Closes behind you. Yep.
Well, what they did is they created that to be a man trap.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they called it. So the doors were fortified, the first doors. You can't get in unless you're buzzed in.
Right.
Anybody who works there has an ID and uses a door.
Sure.
And it was all fingerprinted. You used to have to use
I have to do that. I have to do that when I pick up my daughters from their middle school, their high school. You walk in, and yeah. Even
the police officer is protected by this.
Yes.
Because the second wall is the second doorway,
mm-hmm.
and you're trapped in that little that big vestibule of little whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you have to determine. They will determine who you are,
mm-hmm.
what you're there for. They need ID. There's a window that's bulletproof.
Yep.
The doors are fortified.
There's a lady sitting in there talking through a microphone, saying, hello, Mr. McCormick, how are you? Okay, I'll call Millie.
Yes.
And, and then they get your daughter in.
If they did that even in office buildings, you know that the guards, the doormen and everything, if they just did that and Mr. Trump would know exactly what to do with all of the buildings.
Yeah.
I think we have to think that way. Now, I know they were in...
It's unfortunate.
And there has to be an armed person. There has to be an armed person.
I know.
In our district, they had, former police officers that were retired.
And, and thank you, Marianne. Thank you for calling. Yes, and Marianne's right, everybody. Again, it's not crazy. It's not making our schools a military outpost or a prison. Shut up. They're stupid, the people who say that. They're stupid. The people who say that are dumb. We're going to start getting a little bit more direct in our language on another side of midnight, I think. And again, you walk into, the other day I walked into a fine cigar store here in Manhattan. A really nice cigar store here in Manhattan. Well, did I just show a little leg on my question about good addictions? What I'm going to ask about in the 4:00 hour during sobriety hour. Oh God, I just showed a little preview of what my question's all about. Good addictions, okay addictions, less bad addictions. Anyway, and there was an armed guard in there. It was literally a guy guarding the tobacco. I mean, it was very damn expensive stuff. But, so those same people who say it's, we don't want to create a prison out of our schools. They have no problem when they walk into the bank and say hi to, Jerry, the guard. 1-800-848-9222. Joaquin in Pennsylvania. Good morning. Line 2, Joaquin.
Jay.
Hey there. Hey,
There's
good morning.
The ding.
Hi, buddy.
There's the ding. You know something? I believe that you live in the state now. I think that they recently passed a law, or Hochul's planning on, that they can take away your kids if you don't affirm their gender identity.
Probably. So, I believe we did something along those lines. If not that exactly, it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, and you know something? This really is all about the engineered collapse of our society, and I believe, a lot of these leftists, they're really doing all this stuff to validate their own godlessness,
Yes. Yes.
And, the other thing, too, is this. You think about this, and you mentioned Rita's show, and Dom, he's a regular caller, and, a good caller, and he was saying he actually went to pay his respects at the location, and he overheard a little girl telling her mother that, let's not make this about trans, because I have trans friends.
Yeah.
And my question to this is that, how is it possible a little child can have that many trans friends? Because the reality is that in society, this is really such a small percentage, and this is being engineered through the educational system to turn these kids to make them trans.
Yep.
You got your drag queen drag queen story hour.
Mm-hmm.
You have books with pornography basically in them, and then they say the conservatives are book banners and want to burn books.
Right.
And the problem is that the left has co-opted the communists. You want to call it communist takeover? It's co-opted the educational system, which has trained all the teachers.
100%.
It's co-opted the media. Is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a new hobby. I troll leftists when I go on social media. I only just got on some of the other platforms now because I'm a technological retard.
Uh-huh.
But what I found interesting? There's a couple of these guys who are influencers or podcasters, and they're so freaking sharp in the things that they throw. Well, Trump is a convicted felon,
Oh, yeah.
Try to find any answer to rebut them. You know how hard you have to dig to find an answer as to how it is, even with the petroleum industry, the subsidies. It says, oh, well, the petroleum is subsidized, versus green energy. And so I didn't have an answer. And then I looked it up afterwards. Oh, gee, guess what? The green crap is subsidized about 6 or 7 times more.
Oh, to the teeth. It's subsidized to the teeth. It's subsidized.
But you can't find the information.
Right.
You don't
it's
have
buried.
The information at our fingertips.
Buried, baby, buried. Joaquin, I got to jump a little quick here because we got to make sure we service all of this stuff and get to our conversation with New York State Assemblyman Matt Slater. And let's finally just have a quick conversation with Dr. Anthony, line 4. That's right, Dr. Anthony, you're a high school principal. This wasn't a conversation when you were looking after your high schools, were you?
To be honest with you, I'm a middle school principal.
Middle school. I said high school.
Grades 6, 7, and 8.
Right.
My population was 1,200. I had 120 staff members. And to be honest with you, safety has to be number one.
That's
number one.
It's the single most important thing, even more important than educating the kids, is keeping them safe while they're there.
Absolutely. And the principal, the head educator, has to think of the school not as a building, but as a community center. So you have to worry about your perimeter of the building, 4 blocks around your building, as well as the community itself. When the community embraces the school as their school, everybody watches out for everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Anthony, thank you for that bit of wisdom there. You're right. And that fascinating thing there, what he just said there. Very interesting what Dr. Anthony just said. A 4-block radius. When I worked for the Archdiocese of New York, I was director of communications for Catholic schools for 6 years for Cardinal Dolan. And I can give you a little insight at some point as to some of but the good principals, they knew what was going on pretty much, almost exactly a good 4 or 5 block radius all around the school. They knew that entire neighborhood. Very interesting point from Dr. Anthony. All right, gang, it's 20 after 3 here from the corner of 49th and 3rd in Midtown East. This is Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ, 77 WABC. We shall return. We're going to talk to New York State Assemblyman representing the Hudson Valley, Matt Slater. He's got a problem with the Chinese Communist Party influencing our elections. I think we all have a problem with that. Well, he's looking to do something about it. We shall be right back here on 77 WABC.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
And joining us again here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC is New York State Assemblyman Matt Slater. Matt, good morning and welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
Good morning, TJ. Great to be with you again. Hope you're doing well.
Excellent. Thank you, pal. Just to tell everybody how this works, I got a text from you and it was great. It was classic Matt Slater. As a voice of reason in the New York State Assembly, you must use this word a lot. You said, this is bonkers. You said you've got legislation, which I understand you've now introduced this legislation. Basically, you were showing me a New York Times article about how China is influencing elections, not only around the country, but right here in New York State. And you have introduced legislation that deals with it. Tell me, what the heck are you talking about? What is the New York Times writing about? And what is your legislation going to do to keep our elections safe in New York State? Tell me what's going on, Assemblyman.
Well, thanks so much, TJ. And yeah, this is a critically important issue. If anyone hasn't seen it out there, front page of the New York Times, a bombshell report that once again puts the bright light on the fact that China and the CCP, the Communist Party of China, they are influencing our elections. They have clear examples of it from a New York City council race to a New York State Senate race. And if this doesn't sound, this is a 5-alarm fire. I don't understand why people are making more noise about the fact that they have the exact evidence they need that proves how China is meddling, not in national elections, but they're meddling in local and state elections right here in the state of New York. This needs to be on the forefront of every news network right now. It's astonishingly not. And by the way, it's also astonishing that the New York Times is the one that broke it, but good for them. And so we really, I think as a state, if you look at what's happened in the last year, you had Linda Sun, the deputy chief of staff of Governor Hochul. She was arrested for being an agent for the Chinese Communist Party, for the CCP. Right. And she is currently awaiting trial. Now we are hearing about the fact that they are influencing elections in New York City. No one should be obviously surprised about it, but the fact that it is now documented should be, again, on the forefront of every news network across the country. And the most troubling thing that I believe I've seen so far in the report from the New York Times, when asked for my Tax and Finance, which is the agency that enforces the laws for charities here in New York State, when the Times asked Tax and Finance, well, what are you doing about it? They literally said, well, we don't have the resources to do anything. Meanwhile, we just have a $250 million budget, and you're telling me we don't have the resources to stop the CCP from influencing our elections? Yeah. I mean, it's an abdication of duty by Tax and Finance. And so, we've done a couple of things, TJ. Oh, by the way, yes. I also didn't mention the fact that if you go and Google it, you can find the news articles where they found a Chinese police station in New York City. I mean, come on. Yeah. So, an actual outpost of the Chinese government in New York City. Yeah. Right under our noses. So we have the police station in New York City. You have one of the governor's top aides being arrested for being a spy for the CCP. And now you have this expose from this explosive article from the New York Times talking about how they are using our laws, our charitable laws, with nonprofits for nonprofits, right? Correct. And they are violating our laws to influence elections. There were 50 charities that were identified. 19 of them were found to be violating these laws by engaging in politics, which we know that charities and not-for-profits cannot do. And yet, when asked, the state says, "Oh, sorry, we don't have the resources," which is just with a $250 million budget. I mean, a complete abdication of responsibility. And so I've called on Commissioner Hiller, who is the Commissioner of Tax and Finance. She needs to lay out, well, A, what are you doing about all this? Because this is a very serious allegation and report by the New York Times. But secondarily, if you don't have the resources, well, why aren't you asking for them? We're talking about combating the CCP, for crying out loud. It all makes sense. It's all clear cut. It's all no-brainer stuff. Yet we're talking about a supermajority state from the top to the bottom, every statewide office, every statewide commission, all of those panels and groups and subcommittees that would be overseeing and providing oversight and preventing this sort of infiltration are all of one party. So I say that to ask you, when you have started sounding this alarm, have you been met with skepticism? Have you been met with, take it easy or denials, or are you getting a willingness to work with you on stopping this? I get shrugs of what can we do? And there are things that we can be doing. I mean, that's the whole point. Right. And listen, I don't care really on this issue. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. Right. This should be a unifying issue. This is the CCP influencing an American institution. Yeah. Right? A bedrock of our country. And so it shouldn't matter if a Democrat's benefiting or Republicans benefiting. It shouldn't matter. It's wrong. And it needs to be shut down immediately. Yeah. Immediately. Again, we're talking to New York State Assembly Matt Slater here on Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. It's 1-800-848-9222.
222. Matt, do you have any idea how deeply the CCP might be involved specifically in the New York City mayoral election?
You know, the report hasn't, from the Times, has not indicated that specifically, but, you know, I think that there's no question, you know, that there are large voting blocks in New York City that they clearly are able to influence with these elections. And they specifically cited a city council race and a state senate race. And again, I just think that as an American, you cannot sit back idly and just shrug and say, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
This needs to be this is a 5-alarm electoral fire. And it shouldn't be a partisan one. I think anybody who is proud to call themselves an American should be standing up and saying this is wrong. And doesn't matter if it benefits Democrats or Republicans. It shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But they are infecting our absolute institution that our country was founded on, and making sure that we have fair and honest elections. That is unacceptable.
Matt Slater, you've said, you know, people standing around shouldn't be saying, you know, what can we do? They should be doing something. You've introduced legislation. Tell us about your legislation.
Well, the first one that I've introduced, and we did this after the scandal out of the governor's office, establishes a commission to investigate foreign influence on governmental employees and elections. And shocking, right? That we had the foresight to put this bill in to start this process. Because the reality is, you know, and you know this, TJ, you know, let's just take a step down and go back to local governments, right? You go to local governments, county governments, and not just in New York City, but I hate to say it, but in other parts of the state, you know, they are soft targets.
Right.
And so, you know, we need to get to the bottom of real investigation here from a governmental standpoint of what do you do when you have employees. You know, again, we had the deputy chief of staff of the governor is awaiting trial as a spy for the CCP.
Right.
So but it also begs the question, well, if that's the case, where else have they been able to infiltrate? We need to know.
And it shows a level of sophistication and maybe even more dangerously, it shows a degree of boldness. They've become quite emboldened. Because you know what? When you think about it, about them affecting national elections, it's such a big, wide net. It's such a big pond. It's such a massive thing. You can almost imagine how their influence could get lost in the shadows. When you start talking about state, county, local elections, that's the really scary stuff, because that's operating in a really granular level, and how they can do so in so fewer shadows. That's scary stuff.
Yeah, and so this bill that I introduced, A7914, it would create the commission to investigate this very thing. Because you can't sit there and keep shrugging your shoulders and say, well, what are we supposed to do? Well, let's start here. Let's start with just a basic investigation and a basic commission that looks at these things and then provides with best practices and also offers solutions to making sure that our elections are not being compromised by the CCP. I mean, this is just common sense stuff. We're not talking about building a bomb here. But the fact that there is there's inaction out of Albany to deal with the very problem, that in itself is alarming. The fact that you have, again, somebody embedded within the governor's staff and nothing came about from it. There is no change in policies. There is no public, investigation. There is no public hearing on it. Nothing. Then you now have this report from the New York Times saying that they have impacted and influenced two key races down in the city, a state Senate race and a New York City Council race. What, you can't keep shrugging your shoulders. You just can't do it.
So if the CCP influence, can sway a couple of city council seats, and I know, of course, they work hand in hand with their counterparts at the state level in the legislature, so it is a very big deal about a New York State Senate race. But let's say the CCP could sway a couple of New York City council seats in their favor. Off the top of your head, what could that possibly sway? What could that change in New York City politics and the government, how that works?
It's more about the influence that it has on international relations. And if you read the New York Times article, it's solely on Taiwan. And the American interaction and really the New York State interaction and support of Taiwan. That is the Chinese government's sole focus in a lot of ways. And so it is all about the fact that you have elected officials who either acknowledge, sympathize, or attend even events that are perceived to be in support of Taiwan. And that is what the New York Times article and investigation unveiled here, is the fact that even someone as low as a city council member, if they are perceived to be pro-Taiwan, then the CCP steps in and really just puts the influence to take them out and put somebody else in.
Sure.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, because basically Taiwan being recognized as a sovereign nation is just absolute no-go over their dead body when it comes to China.
That is their, again, if you look at the geopolitics of the region, that is, of course, one of the hot button issues when it comes to the Chinese American relations is Taiwan. And so when New York politicians start talking about Taiwan, when they start, when they attend pro-Taiwanese events, then according to the New York Times article, the CCP, they get on their radar, and the CCP tries to influence those elections specifically down in New York City, and it's a major issue, and that's why we also have another bill that's co-sponsored by Senator Walczyk, and that is A7852. And that prohibits contributions to be made by hostile foreign nations in connection with a state or local election. I mean, these are things that we could be putting into place.
Hey, and listen, by the way, wasn't there legislation this time? Forgive me if it passed, didn't pass, I don't know, but I seem to remember, if not this time last year, in some recent memory, wasn't there something being kicked around that would prevent New York nonprofits from doing business or providing money to Israel?
Yeah, the BDS investments. There's been a lot of talk about that.
Right.
And so that, it's similar in that fashion, but the fact that we have to even put into law that hostile nations should not be prohibiting contributions and donations from hostile nations or individuals tied to hostile nations, that's what we need to be looking at and talking about if you want to truly protect the sanctity of our elections. And I only say that, not as conspiracy theorists, but because the New York Times just reported on it on the front page.
Yeah. This is all about following the money. This is all about following the money because, and I know there's junkets for elected officials, for business leaders that go all over the world. We'll hear that somebody I was just in the Czech Republic on a junket learning, you hear these things. These things also happen to the Far East as well. I would imagine it's probably helpful to follow the money, and see who's going where and when and with who and who the hell pays for it.
And the influence that it ultimately wields and the results. Right? Because the result is you're removing one elected official for another. That is, in and of itself, fundamentally wrong. And it takes the voice away from the people, and it corrupts the system that we've built our country on. And right now, the CCP is at the forefront of that, according to the New York Times. And the fact that, this is not the lead story on every national news network is really troubling and crazy. And I'll go back to bonkers. TJ.
Yep, I was just going to bring it full circle and say once again, yep, you nailed it. Matt Slater is a New York State Assemblyman. Full disclosure, he's my assemblyman, and we have worked.
Proud of that, TJ. Proud of that.
I'm proud. By the way, has my dad written you any more letters about potholes? Has my dad still busting your chops?
Not this week. Okay. Not this week.
Well, there's a reason he's a friend of the show. It's because he's one of the best and brightest in Albany. Thank God you're up there representing us with a voice of reason. Everybody, Matt Slater, New York State Assemblyman, thanks for joining us here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick.
Thanks, TJ. Appreciate it. Be well.
Telling you, he is absolutely just, you hear it, just so competent. Bigger, better things from this guy. This guy down the road could be in any number of federal offices. He could be a governor someday. 1-800-848-9222. You remember that story about the New York, about the Chinese police station in Manhattan? Remember that? That was insane. And it kind of came and it went. It was like, they were intimidating people and talking to people and, so yeah, things are just crazy bizarre right now. They are crazy and bizarre, upside down and dystopian in some cases. 1-800-848-9222. So far this morning, we've been talking about, Minneapolis, the absolute mental illness that is not just the behind what happened, but how the left, as far as I'm concerned, it's all on them. They own that situation in Minneapolis. The Democrats own that situation in Minneapolis. They own, they're going to own a hell of a lot more if Mamdani gets to where he's looking to get. And, the one thing, I tell you what, just like I'm embracing my more focused stance on certain things like gender ideology. I am absolutely much more comfortable in saying over and over again, thank God for Donald Trump. Thank God for Donald Trump, because he's allowing people to come out of the woodwork a little bit, and kind of like this, just he's taken a lot of flack and given a lot of cover for us to express ourselves like this. Very quickly, let's just jump over to Eric in Roswell with a comment on, I think that's a comment on Matt. Matt's actually an assemblyman, not a congressman, but go ahead, Eric.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Our Congress we know what foreign country controls our Congress, right?
Yeah.
This is no secret, and you don't seem to have a problem with that. So I can't take what you're saying seriously.
What do you mean I don't have a problem with China? What are you talking about? When did I comment on or not comment?
No, not you, your guest here. If anyone's heard of, if it goes back to like Kennedy, we have there's a large foreign lobby of foreign agents that is not registered, that gives money to everybody.
Right.
It used to be on YouTube. Cynthia McKinney, James Traficant. Are these familiar names? I can go on for a while.
Cynthia McKinney, no.
Okay, the story Cynthia McKinney tells, and I don't disbelieve her, is that she walked in, newly elected congresswoman,
right?
Before she had been sworn in, she says, there was a fax from the American Israel Political Action Committee asking her to sign this oath supporting all these positions. And she found that very weird. Actually, wasn't it quite recent? Who was it that talked about how everyone has a handler? Didn't Matt Gaetz say that quite recently? Like, why are we acting like
Did
Israel
Matt say that on his show? Did he say that on his show?
I believe, I'm not entirely sure about the attribution on that one.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So
there was someone on Tucker Carlson this year, wasn't it?
So yeah, so that's
a much bigger problem to me.
Just to connect the dots. Okay, so you're saying that while we're over here talking about getting out in front of China's influence, you're talking about, okay, well, why aren't we complaining about what you say is influence from Israel and other?
That is a much larger, there's an elephant in the room that is not being discussed. And I guess you're going to say something about hostility, but
they're certainly not.
Here's the answer.
They're certainly not. They're certainly not bringing in. They're not making donations. Are you saying that Israel is providing financial?
Jamal Bowman. Remember his how very popular guy got primaried out by. Even the left condemned the amount of spending, $14 million for his seat, to unseat him.
George Latimer.
He did not agree with this foreign country. He was not
he's also an anti-Semite. I mean, it's one thing to not agree with the country. Jamal Bowman is just a vile anti-Semite. He's disgusting.
Well, but that and Corey, you can say this whatever you wish, but it's. So we're allowed to be controlled by countries that we think are our friends?
Well, I don't know if we're being controlled. I think it just so happens. I just think it just so happens that the greater good is supporting Israel against their fight against Hamas, and supporting them in their endeavor that, never again. They just have to constantly fight all of those foes who surround them. And if we can get in the way and get this thing towards a solution and stop this war and stop the killing once and for all, and eliminate Hamas and bring the hostages home, and at the same time eliminate and Hezbollah and take care of the Houthis and all those other people that threaten the good people of Israel every single day, then that's a good thing. All right. Thank you, Eric. I do appreciate your call. You're an interesting guy there, Eric. So I would hope that Eric calls again. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Pamela, George, and Richie are all waiting to talk, and I look forward to speaking with all of y'all. It's 3:45. We shall return here on Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. Take it, Tone.
All night long. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
It's Another Side of Midnight here with all of y'all. The early morning family here on 77 WABC. So damn cool to be talking to you guys. I'm really, really grateful you're there. And, yes, really, really, really thank you for all the success as this show has evolved and morphed and changed and gotten better and solidified and found its footing and grounding and all that stuff. It's been a great summer. And what a great time to build a show like this. And so thank you so much for being the foundation of it. And that means the world to me and my family and my wife and my girls and everybody. Thank you so much. And my mom, who's only 65 and it was her birthday, she is grateful for all of you guys being there. Next hour, we're going to talk a little bit of recovery, talking about, speak of my wife and my daughter and my mom and dad, everybody. Going to talk recovery. We always bring up sobriety in the last hour on Saturday morning, here on Another Side of Midnight. It's the only reason I'm alive is because 20 years ago, my wife kicked me out of the house. She saved my life. And maybe that's what I'll talk about. Maybe that's why I always try to think about, what exactly, how am I going to sort of give us a little entree to that conversation? Maybe I'll talk about my rehab experience. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about that. But I know that's what I was going to do. I know for sure I was going to ask any of my sober guys and gals out there, my brothers and sisters, is there an acceptable, I really know the answer in my heart, but I'm kind of got my fingers crossed for hearing what I want to hear. But I'm sitting here looking at a Diet Coke and I'm thinking about a few other things and I'm like, am I really sober if I'm leaning on something? You know what I mean? We'll talk. We'll get there. It's still just 3:49. We'll get to the 4 o'clock hour and do that. Tomorrow morning, by the way, Sunday morning, I'm going to do my best. I'm trying to put one thing together to pay homage to the Jerry Lewis telethon. I tell you what, I looked forward. The only thing that made the end of the summer palatable for me, made it survivable, because I hated school. Before I met and understood Democrats, the thing that I loathed more than a lot of other things, man, oh man, did I hate school. I hated school. I hated the end of the summer. I loved my freedom. I hated school. Imagine how much of a good match that was, me working for Catholic Education when as director of communications. Oh my God, I winced myself through 6 years of talking good about schools. They were great people. Don't get me wrong. And I love the kids. But anyway, the only thing that made the end of the summer somewhat kind of bearable was the Jerry Lewis telethon. I loved the telethon. I tie my own bow ties because I wanted to be able to untie my bow tie like Jerry Lewis and our own Tony Orlando. How cool was Tony Orlando hosting the New York end of the telethon? We're going to talk about that tomorrow morning. We're going to do an homage to the telethon as best we can. We have some clips. The fellas played a couple last week. And also in our kind of overnight, late night conspiracy conversation, tomorrow morning, early morning conversation, we're going to have Dane Wigington. We are going to be talking about weather engineering and chemtrails and contrails and all that stuff. That's tomorrow night. We've got a guy who's going to blow your doors off with some fascinating conspiratorial stuff. Pamela, line 4. Good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight. One of the best out there. Thank you. I love that you're out there in the audience, Pamela. Good morning.
Oh, thank you. Same back at you. Yeah, I enjoy your politeness, your courtesy. You're not in competition with the callers. I like that.
Well, thank you.
In reference to security in school buildings and business buildings,
yes.
Sometimes it depends upon the regular staff who have innate abilities to handle situations. Case in point, when I worked in a high school, there was two hallways that were perpendicular to each other.
Gotcha.
And I was given hall duty at the corner of that.
Okay.
And there was an exit door, and the gyms were on one side. And so the gym, it was a nice day, so the gym classes were coming in and out, so naturally the door had to be unlocked because they were going in and out, playing outside.
Sure, I get it.
And then all of a sudden, these two individuals showed up, not in gym clothes, well dressed, looked very respectable, very tall, good looking.
Right.
Didn't pose a threat, but they just didn't belong. And I'm thinking,
weird.
All right, the door's already unlocked. They're big guys. There's two of them. They've got me beaten that way. So, I taught, special ed for years, and I've always loved psychology and read up on a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And so I started talking to them, and I said, can I help you? And, they didn't find me defensive or like, get out of here, you don't belong here or anything. So they talked. They said, yeah, we want to talk to somebody. We have a meeting. And I'm like, And, I didn't push it too hard because they weren't giving me a name. So that means they were already being deceptive. So I said, oh, well, let me help you. So just follow me. Yeah. So I got them away from the kids, and I walked them down this hallway, which is relatively lonely because it's got all the gyms on one side and glass windows, and there's no classrooms, and it was in between classes.
I got you. I totally get it. It's one of those kind of bad term. It's one of those really quiet parts of the building where there's no actual classrooms. It's not like it's just a corridor.
Right. And I figured I could outrun them if they started something.
Okay.
And get to the office.
Wow. How scary that you have to think that way. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Isn't it sad? So our office was part principal's office and part, there was a detective, like a little mini police station inside.
Yeah.
So I brought him to the door, and I opened the door, and I said, oh, excuse me. And I didn't even have to say hardly anything. And the detective ran up to the door and said, oh, my God. And he looked at the two gentlemen, and he said, we've been looking for you.
Whoa.
And he looked at me, and he said, how'd you do this? And I said, excuse me? And he didn't want to say too much in front of them.
Right.
And nobody, it's always a big secret, because they're not going to tell the little staff member.
Yeah. So what was it, Pamela? What was it?
Well, obviously, they had done something naughty, and I brought them, and the detective said, you mean to tell me you brought these guys down?
You were like the Pied Piper. You had no idea what you were doing.
Well, I knew something was up. And, having dealt with special ed, sometimes, I had 21-year-olds, at the high school.
Sure.
Situational issues.
Yeah,
either
I got
social
you.
or emotional issues. So I'm good at what I did, and I still use it throughout life. I have this, you don't realize it sometimes, but I was always intuitive that way.
Yeah, it's like a sixth sense. I mean, you certainly develop that, and when you're in an environment like that, you know what and who is supposed to be there, and what and who are not.
I actually won a governor's award for, sometimes I call in talking about, the downsides of certain things with, let's just say authority, not letting you, in the teaching world. Right. But I won a governor's award, my staff teacher of the year. So
look at you.
Positive here. So sometimes what I'm saying is it's the so-called little people that have averted many a horrible thing.
Sure.
You just never hear about.
Unwittingly. Wow. Well, and you know what? In this case, in Minneapolis, and thank you for calling, Pamela. In this case, it was, little people, literally little people. It was older, young students. It was 6th, 7th, 8th graders who jumped on top of the little ones, and protected them and saved their lives. I mean, I know it's a little different from the context of what you meant. But yeah, it's just people doing their jobs very often in life. That's who avoids and averts real catastrophes. It's just that security guard who just notices a door ajar, or, a secretary who notices that phone line is blinking, but wait a minute, hold on, that person, boom, there you go. Exactly. It's Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ McCormick, and we're talking about a lot of stuff this morning. Let's see, when we come back, before we talk about sobriety and stuff in our recovery conversation, when we come back from our top of the hour break, we'll talk to Richie, we'll talk to Gene in the Bronx, we'll talk to George in Long Island. Actually, you know what? Real quick, because we touched on it, I don't want to rush you off there, Rich. So in Dutchess County, Richie, hang in there. We'd only have like 40 seconds. That's not fair. You've been waiting forever. And, I'm not going to say your name and then have to rush you back off. Do I have more time than I thought? Oh, okay. I got more time than we normally do. So Richie in Dutchess County. All right, buddy. I have about a minute and a half. So please, thank you for hanging in there and hanging on. Tell me what you think about Mom Donnie if he wins.
Well, first of all, TJ, your show is awesome and you rock the house.
Thank you.
Okay. First, I'd like to know how many people in this audience would need a road sign to make, not to make a U-turn on a highway.
Okay. I'm not even sure. How many people would need a road sign to make a U-turn? I don't know. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. This'll get us to the top of the hour. Remember last week I told y'all that my 16-year-old was taking her road test? She took a road test and she passed. And now this could easily fit perfectly into the sobriety hour. I have been praying all week. Not crazy praying, not obsessing, but I have been trying to live life on life's terms, because that's all you can do when you send your baby out there with the car keys with all of the insane people on the roads. Oh my God. This week has tested my serenity. We'll talk about that when we come back. And we'll also talk to George and Robert and Gene. This is Another Side of Midnight. We are tearing right towards the 4 o'clock hour on 77 WABC.
It's Another Side of Midnight. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
I went to all boys Catholic school. High school. I mean, I'm thinking of high school. But I went to Catholic grammar school too. I went to Catholic elementary school. Chuck. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. He captured it, man. Yeah, hell of a storyteller, right? Thank you for this, Tony. Yes. Oh, yeah. Round and round you go. Good morning, everybody. It's another side of midnight here as we wind down summer. I'm sorry. Hope you had a good summer. I had a decent summer. I watched my girls grow up. They had that weird thing where they really made that leap from they're bigger than they used to be to all of a sudden, Jesus Christ, who's that woman that just walked into the kitchen? Who the heck is that? I'm telling you, my 13-year-old is my little comedian, is my comedian. She kills me. That little girl, my 16-year-old, yes. So as I said in the end of the last hour, she passed her driving test, her road test. And I had to just be this week. I just had to let her get out there and drive. You don't even want to think about the worst. But for all the other stuff, that's what you have insurances, right? That's what you have insurance for. If an accident happens, it happens. Jesus, God, protect my baby while she's out there. But if the fender bender happens, the kind of stuff that's annoying and not life-threatening, that is we file that under God forbid, of course. But because you just, right? I mean, I felt like I kind of grew up a little bit this week. I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. Let's get into the sobriety portion, because that right there is where my sobriety hits the road. Because for me, the sobriety is not so much not drinking; it's about my behavior. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's wrap up these calls about everything we've been talking about up till now. Let's get over to George on Long Island. George, you're right. Mamdani has captured some minds, unfortunately, including people in your house.
Yeah, look, I'll go quickly. I'm up there in age. I have 3 adult children. They live in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. They were over. I love to see them. I don't get excited. Their spouses, their friends. We are Christians. Some of them are Jewish. Mm-hmm. They're all voting for Madani. And we had a discussion. It said it's our turn. We're not voting from the same old politicians. And they brought age into it. Mm-hmm. Although I'm an old guy, I'm approaching 80, but that's beside the point. Mm-hmm. And I have a few bucks. So we were talking about it, and no excitement. So I really think he's going to win. It's a foregone conclusion.
Wow.
2 more points. If you're going to fight him, and you're a Republican strategist, you say to fight him to talk about how much weight he can lift and make fun of him. It doesn't take a lot of strength to write on a piece of paper left-wing orders. I'll just tell you the end of the conversation.
Okay.
I finally said, I try to bring humor into things.
Sure.
Arguing with people. I said, I should have probably sent you all. They're all well-educated. Went to those fancy schools in Manhattan that you talk about. Sure. I said, I should have saved money and sent you all to the University of Havana. It would have cost me less money, and I would have gotten the same result.
Nice.
So really, get used that he's going to win. I mean, really, that's what I believe. And they're not fighting him. Right. And the candidates, just if you can mention your own opinion, you say, you're a smart guy. Maybe I'm browning you up. You're a Republican consultant. Do you think they're running an effective campaign against him when they talk about how much weight he could lift?
No.
I mean, I find it's incredible. That's all I have to say. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, George. Thank you for being there. I'm grateful for your input. I'm grateful for you listening to the show. It means a lot. And that's a hell of an input. Yeah, I think they are running this. I think between Adams and Cuomo, it's a silly race. I think our great hope is that one or both of them will drop out and leave this mano a mano and let Curtis Sliwa beat the leftist trousers off of this anti-Semite. It's all about letting Curtis have at it with this guy. No way. On an even playing field, there's no way Curtis loses in this town. Democrats will hold their nose. Upper West Side Democrats, Upper East Side millionaire Democrats, people down in the financial district, I believe conservative business owning Muslims and conservative business owning Hispanics will vote for Curtis. I believe they will. I believe Queens will vote for Curtis. I believe, Staten Island, wake up and, roll out of bed, and he's got those votes. So it's all about, they've got to get the hell out of the way, let Curtis run against this lunatic mano a mano. Let Curtis ruin him. Let's get over to Robert in Long Beach. Robert, good morning. Welcome to the show. Line 4. Good morning there, Robert.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for accepting my call.
Of course. Thank you for calling.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The shooter in Minnesota has the most strictest gun laws. Mm-hmm. Where did this kid get money to purchase all that ammo? Because I understand there was 100 shots and 3 guns. Where would the money come from? And will there be an investigation about who sold him the guns?
Yeah, well, they were legal. Yeah, I think first of all, I think from what I heard, and we heard it pretty early on, that the guns were bought legally. And so, so that's one thing. They were bought, which kind of is my point from 2 hours ago, which is, if in fact in liberal Minnesota that does have, to your point, very tough gun laws, which would preclude mentally ill people from buying those guns legally. If this guy's mental illness was on the books as a mental illness instead of a social issue that he needs help dealing with, instead of enabling his mental illness and red flagging him like they should have, if they had red flagged this guy as being mentally ill instead of in need of love, then this guy probably wouldn't have been able to buy those guns, and therefore the Democrats wouldn't have to own the death of these 2 little Catholic children, which is the current situation. It's their fault.
I wonder, is the mother involved to a point that she got a criminal defense lawyer?
Yeah.
Now?
She finally, she lawyered up, and she finally, as we kind of went to the air tonight, it finally broke that she did in fact finally respond to investigators. So she is, I don't know if she's cooperating, but she's opened up a line of communication with them.
So it could have been legally purchased by her?
Who knows? Could have been him. He's 23 years old. And, from what I understand, he bought them legally there, brother. I don't know, man. I mean, we're going to find out a hell of a lot more, I think, as next week unfolds and everybody comes back from Labor Day and they've laid these children to rest. I think, we're going to learn more. Thank you for calling, Robert. I'm grateful that you're there. It means a lot. And let's get over to, Jay in Queens. Good morning, Jay. Welcome to another side of midnight.
Good morning, Mr. TJ McCormick.
That is me, yes, I am the T, yes. Good morning.
Okay, no, I'm a little nervous because.
Oh, don't be silly. It's just.
Yeah, but I'm going to be one of the most important callers you're going to have all night.
Ooh, go ahead.
Because I've had my 15 minutes of fame as a driving instructor. I have taught driving instructors how to teach.
Oh, okay.
I have taught, and this is, I'm not bull.
Okay.
I have taught Frank Lesser's daughter, Hannah, and Susan how to drive.
Wait. Frank who? Frank who's? Who?
Frank Lesser, Guys and Dolls.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's right. My real name is Jesus.
Okay, Jesus.
And I'm a veteran.
Okay,
and
thank you.
I'm doing the security work from midnight till 8 in the morning, and I always hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you let me keep you company. That means a lot to me.
But also here.
Yes.
I've taught, Guys and Bueller's Farah with Mia Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
I taught her how to drive, Mia Sarah.
No kidding. Wow. Who else have you taught?
I've taught, Broad Awesome Howard, the costume designer.
Wow. Who was the worst student you ever had?
The Chinese ladies or men. Oh, no. Really? Because when I took them to the road test, and I put them on the road test line before the inspector gets to them.
Uh-huh.
The inspector will see me because he knew I was good.
Mm-hmm.
And when I brought over a Chinese student to take the road test, he saw me, and he would give me the sign of the cross.
Oh, that's funny. Look at you.
He knew that they weren't going to pass.
Wow. Jeez.
So he knew already in advance he would have a hard time in the car with them.
Wow. Jay, look, Jesus, you are one funny guy, and I love to know that you're there listening to the show. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Actually, wait, before we go, what is the very, very, I need you to cut to this. What is the very, very important lesson that I need to know?
Oh, that's what I was waiting for.
Yes, please tell me. My daughter,
Your daughter just passed her road test.
Yes, sir.
And I've had people from other instructors who never gave them this driving habit.
Okay.
When the light is green, and by the time she gets there, it's gonna turn yellow and then red, right?
Yes, sir.
And I ask every other instructor, what do? They either tell me go forward, they either pick up speed to beat the light, or they either stop all of a sudden.
Right.
That is wrong. Tell your daughter
that
when she sees that amber light, come on.
Yes.
The first thing she does, this is a habit that will last her forever.
Yes.
She looks in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
Because that will tell her exactly how the speed of the car coming behind her.
Right. And that will determine if she goes through the light or if she stops to make the red.
Boy, DJ, you make me feel great, and I feel like crying, okay?
Oh, Jay, Jesus, thank you so much.
Yes.
Because that's a tough one to articulate. And I'm going to tell my daughter tomorrow the first thing, because that is one of the things that will bother a driver for their entire life. They could drive for 60 years, and that will be something that will always bug you. Wow, that light's turning yellow. First thing you do, I got it. Many accidents happen. Thank you, Jay. That was, you know what? How many people right now, how many people in the family are like kind of nodding and going, wait, that's right. It's not, the decision is not go forward. The move is not go forward. The move is not stop. The move is what's going on around you. The move is look in the rearview mirror. How close is the car behind you? Amber light. If you got the time, nobody's creeping up on your tail, slow down and stop for that red. If they're riding you, go through. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jay. I'm going to tell my daughter that when I see her later in the morning. It is 4:20 here on 77 WABC. We're going to talk a little sobriety in just a moment. Before we do that, we're going to get to Cyrus and Christine. So let's go over to Cyrus. Good morning, Cyrus, Staten Island. Why do people keep falling for the Dems, damn it?
Well, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody would vote for Van Damme, but that last guy said his younger people were saying, we're not going to vote for the same old
right.
Person.
Yeah.
Don't they realize they're being played?
Totally.
How long have Democrats been running things?
Please.
And you're going to vote for another Democrat?
A worse Democrat.
Van Damme or
right. A worse Democrat
so
with less experience.
Person?
Right.
And whenever anybody says, I don't care if it's a talk show host or somebody, friend, they say, well, Van Damme is going to win, so, it doesn't matter. I says, no, if you say Curtis is not going to win, if you really wanted Curtis, vote for Curtis.
Right.
Then he can't lose.
Exactly.
Every single person who's ever said that, then vote for Curtis.
Boom.
The one thing you're never voting for the same old if you vote for Curtis. Because he's never been in office. He's never made mistakes in office.
Right.
And every other person who is running has made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. I mean, Cuomo, that's crazy.
God, he's got death on his hand. He's got deaths on his record.
And one of the things to straighten out is as far as like these most of your carjackings are done by young kids.
Sure.
All you got to do is change the law that if you do an adult crime, you do adult time.
Yeah.
And they will stop.
And
even if half of them stop, that saves half of the crimes.
And you know what, Cyrus? It's funny you mention that, because this lunatic Mamdani, part of his platform is allow people to be charged as youthful offenders up to the age of 26. And to expunge all convictions of drug crimes, sex work, and petty offenses, and immediately release all who are incarcerated for those kinds of crimes. This guy is literally,
right. So,
by definition, Cyrus, this guy, it's almost like this guy's platform is to ruin New York City. And I don't know what.
Well, he's been groomed for that.
Totally.
He's been groomed for that since he's 20.
Yep.
In the 20s years old, they groomed to, they said, we're going to keep placing these people in key positions in America until we bring it down.
Yep.
And you get young people falling for this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my mantra to anybody is, I'm voting for Curtis Sliwa for mayor of New York.
That's it. Say it, and live it, learn it, love it. Cyrus, I got to jump. Thank you, Pally. There you go, Mamdani. That's another thing we're going to talk about tomorrow morning, by the way, Sunday morning, another side of midnight. We're going to, have a conversation about, whatchamacallit. We're going to talk about, Mamdani's position on sex work. Well, what prostitution, what he and the left love to embrace as sex work, which of course implies that it's honorable, hard work that needs to be unionized and encouraged and embraced and lifted up and all that other garbage. And so basically what it means is we've got another Democrat who's ready to throw women and their well-being under the bus. Throw them to the wolves. Right? And so, tomorrow morning, we are going to speak with Lisa Durden, who is, a far left supporter of Mamdani. And, Lisa's been on the show before. And so we are going to speak once again tomorrow to Lisa Durden, and we're going to get her take on promoting sex work as a legitimate occupation. And of course, all of the inherent ills that come with it. And also equal pay for women athletes. We got the U.S. Open happening, and that's a constant story anytime we talk about women's tennis in particular. Women's football, women's soccer, women's basketball, women's professional sports, and they're demanding equal pay. I, as the father of two beautiful young women, I'm still not sure that I concur with this push because it's just, it doesn't add up. Anyway, before we take our break and then come back and talk some sobriety, let's talk to Christine. Christine, good morning in Manhattan, I believe.
Good morning.
Hey there. Good morning to you.
Thank you for your sobriety.
Oh, thank you.
I also agree with the guy that just spoke. I'm planning to vote for Curtis because he's the only honest guy that's running for office.
100%.
And he's the guy that coined the phrase about Cuomo, pinch the fannies and kill the grannies. So, I mean, I would vote for Mamdani before I would vote for Cuomo. He's horrible.
Yeah, that's classic Curtis, isn't it?
And he's brilliant and clever, and he knows New York.
Yep. Better than anybody.
That's what I love about him.
Yep.
But I want to talk about something else, that is what's going on with the transsexual killer and other similar issues. I've been working in psychiatry for years, and I've had a lot of experience with this, more than most people.
Okay.
And I believe that a lot of this rage that this 23-year-old tranny was writing about in his manifesto, which they tried to cover up from the beginning, by the way.
They pulled that baby down as soon as they found it. They pulled it down from YouTube and other places.
But it slipped out.
Yep.
But the bottom line is that I've worked with these people. I know them. And I think that a lot of the reasons for this incredible rage and the identity of the opposite sex is that they have been molested sexually as infants or toddlers. Do some research on that, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
That's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking.
The psychodynamics is as they grow old or they mature, they have to take on the opposite sex as a cause to blame. If a young male child was sodomized by an adult male, his father, uncle, whatever, it was painful and frightening because they were totally helpless. So they have to find a reason to blame themselves in the deluded idea that they could have changed things.
Wow.
That's the root cause of why they do this stuff. You see these people, they have skin carving, borderline personalities, they cut themselves, they're suicidal, and that is the dynamic of what the origin of this was.
Goodness gracious.
And I have seen this and experienced the people that have gone through this, and I know that there were a lot of people in leadership positions in some of the most elite schools in New York that are guilty of being sexual molesters of small children.
Well, it's been a scourge and an epidemic for decades and decades and decades, and throughout all different institutions. All of it heartbreaking, all of it disgusting, all of it vile,
and none of it accurate.
And
they're in denial. Talk about sobriety. They're in denial. They cannot admit it. They want to avoid it. They want to run away from it. They don't want to confront it. But it has to be because it's not going to stop. Yeah.
Oy vey. All right. Well, listen, Christine, thank you so much, and thank you for your kind words on my sobriety. It's something I'm grateful for, and I hope to pay it forward. I hope to share it and encourage others and show the way. So when we continue on Another Side of Midnight, we are going to talk about that. And then, we never did get to the creepy AI. Tomorrow night, that's what we'll kick off the show with a bit about this, how artificial intelligence found its way into a couple of headlines this week, where we read about a kid in California who was taught how to make his noose for his own suicide, God rest his soul, by artificial intelligence. And ChatGPT in particular was mentioned in another story out of Tony Well-Heeled, not Tony, but Tony Well-Heeled, fancy schmancy Greenwich, Connecticut, or might have been Old Greenwich, where a wealthy, albeit mentally ill fella killed his mom and then himself. And this is a guy who, for the last year and change of his life, his closest relationship was in an ongoing conversation with ChatGPT. What in the sweet feathery Jesus is happening? That is insane. I mean, seriously, have a drink. All right. So speaking of have a drink, we shall return to Another Side of Midnight after this bottom of the hour break, and we will talk about experience, strength, and hope. If you are struggling with booze or gambling or drugs or shopping or sex, if you are addicted to, if you are powerless over sex or shopping or drugs or gambling, if you are powerless over that and your life is unmanageable, if you're a hoarder and you cannot have people to your home, if you haven't left your home looking or smelling right in forever, that means your life is unmanageable and you have a problem. And 1-800-848-9222 is the number. Anybody with some experience, strength, and hope to share, or if you're feeling like you're up against it or someone you love is in a bad way, give a call. We'll talk about it. And that's the first thing you got to do. You got to live out loud. Okay? You got to let we're only as sick as our secrets. Stuff you keep inside, either about yourself or someone you love. You keep it inside, it's going to make you sicker and sicker and sicker. It's a poison. It's toxic. You got to say it out loud. You got to let it hit the oxygen and take away the stigma, take away the shame. Give me a call. We'll get it out there. We'll talk about it a little bit anonymously. No names. Make up a fake name, just like, trainees. And we'll talk about it. 1-800-848-9222. Another side of midnight. Talking a little bit of experience, strength, and hope. A little bit of sobriety conversation coming up here on 77 WABC.
All night long. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
It is 4:37 here. We are talking our way right to the 5 a.m. news hour with Liz Radavali here on 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ McCormack. And the only reason that I am alive, the only reason that I am here talking to you this morning or any morning, the only reason, the single fact that I am, factor that allowed me to be here to see my 16-year-old daughter get her driver's license and witness my 13-year-old daughter walk into the kitchen suddenly looking like a fully grown woman. Actually, forget the fact that I'm here to see and do those things. The fact that those young women are here is because my wife kicked me out of the house 20 years ago. 20 years ago, July 10th of 2005. So it was the 9th that she kicked me out. I count my sobriety. And by the way, this is a great conversation. You want to get sober people calling up. Talk about AA meetings and like the rules. That's one thing to get them going. And another thing is to say, how do you establish your sobriety date? For me, it's the first day of not drinking, not the date of my last drink. The date of my last drink, I wasn't sober. That's not my sobriety date. And I'll fight you on that. I'll fight you like a drunk. Anyway, so yeah, July 9th, I had my last drink. July 10th, sobriety anniversary. So there you go. So the only reason that any of these things are acknowledged, celebrated, experienced, and in fact, the only reason that Millie and Trixie McCormack are on this planet, are because my wife had the courage, the bravery and the wherewithal to kick me the hell out of the house. It was not pretty, but wow, what a blessing in retrospect. It has informed and not only made possible but it's colored every single day of our relationship going forward has been enhanced and made possible by that moment for me. And yeah, this week, this was, and if any of this rings a bell, and by the way, again, I'm just giving you a little bit of my insight, a little bit of my experience. And if it's something that if you want to speak on anything to do with this subject of recovery or sobriety or a lack thereof in your life, or someone you love, a lack thereof in their life, 1-800-848-9222. By all means, give a call. Because, that's what we do on these Saturday mornings. We put aside just a couple of minutes Because in case someone's struggling out there, again, the definition that I kind of go with, the operative, group of words is, if you're powerless over XYZ, if you're powerless over alcohol, you're powerless over drugs, you're powerless over shopping, you're powerless over sex, if you just can't not have sex, or deviant behavior, sexually, if you cannot walk past a store without purchasing something that you cannot afford, or just purchasing something, if you have a hoarding issue, if you have these things, if you're powerless over these things and your life is therefore unmanageable, then you're an addict. That's my operative, and a lot of my friends in this life, that's how we go by it. And people say, how do you know if you're an actual alcoholic? Well, if you're powerless over alcohol and your life is unmanageable, if one drink is too much and 14 is not enough, you might be an alcoholic. So this week was actually really big for me, sobriety-wise. Not that I was in danger of drinking. Not that I was like on the cusp and I was looking for booze and I had to walk past a bottle of wine. It wasn't that. That's, by the grace of God, that's not my issue. I'm good. Generally speaking, up till now, I've been good. Got to put those caveats in. I'm not, as my sponsor says, I can't coast up a hill. Got to keep working. So anyway, that being said, this week was big on my sobriety behavior, because my little baby girl, passed her driving test, and I cannot wait to tell her that little note from Jesus. And there was no good reason to say no to it's summertime. This week, my schedule, the car was there and she had the ability, and, I had the time and I didn't need the car a few times. And so I said yes. Dad, I want to go. And, she was doing what 16-year-olds do when they get their license, right? She was suddenly coming up with reasons that she needed to go. I need a Q-tip. Dad, I got to run to CVS. I need a Q. But there's the whole box. See, I didn't say, but there's the whole box in the linen closet. I said, oh, well then, why don't you take the car? Why don't you, I tried to be proactive. I didn't even want her to have to ask me. Yes, you can file that under wanting to be the cool dad. But I also know that she's a proud, independent, strong, smart young woman. And when she went out there amongst all the jerks, I was so scared. I was so scared. But here's the thing. It's out of my control. This is one of those life on life's terms, right? And what some idiot out there is going to do or not do is beyond my control. And I cannot freak out. If I freaked out like I want to freak out over everything that's not under my control. I want to panic. I want to curl up into a fetal position. And why can't I control? You should see the mental gymnastics that I go through every time that I've had to do a colonoscopy, only twice so far in my life. But when I tell you what, it's that prep that keeps my mind off the kind of bad news that I don't want to hear after the colonoscopy. The one thing that keeps me regular is the prep. Ha ha. There's a pun. So anyway, this week was big for me sobriety-wise because it was all about my behavior and letting go. Not just letting go of my little girl. Not just that. Certainly a little bit of that. but letting go and letting God. You let go and you let God. Alcoholics, recovering alcoholics, we live our life based on slogans that are stuck on the wall of a church basement. Let go and let God. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS, right? The KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. This week I had to keep it simple because I'm stupid. And I had to let go and let God because I cannot control what's happening at every intersection. And this is a mini lesson as my daughters grow older. I can get past this first week of her driving out there, and she went on the highways too. I let go of that. You know, when she goes for that job or she goes away to college or she goes on that date, I'm going to have to do a lot of letting go and letting God. So these are the baby steps. These are the things that you learn from. Eddie in Rockland. Good morning. Good morning, Eddie.
Hey, good morning, TJ.
Hey.
Hey, I just made a decision today to get up and take my walk and turn my life over to the care of God.
Oh, good.
That's all you got to do.
Amen.
You know, make your decision.
Yeah.
And all the other things that you talked about, let other people control things.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to them.
Yeah.
We got someone else steering the car.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to acknowledge it, right? You got to say it out loud because that's how we have to make that affirmation. It doesn't just come naturally to us, right?
When you get up, you make that decision. That's all you got to do, brother.
Indeed. You're out. And you're out there walking right now?
Yeah.
Look at you. Isn't it? Hey, by the way, isn't that something else about us? We are early flipping risers, baby. We spent too many years sleeping until noon because we were so messed up.
That's for sure. But I got to get the walk in before the 7 o'clock meeting, you know?
Look at you. I love you, Eddie. I love you. You're a great alcoholic. Way to go, baby. All right. Go be well. There goes Eddie. Classic. Tell you what, gang. Tell you what. When you're driving through your neighborhood and you see lights on in a kitchen somewhere, there's good a chance that that's somebody in recovery who's embracing life and getting up early and getting at it, as opposed to somebody just getting in ripped to their teeth. I got to take the quarter of the hour, don't I? I've been over here talking like a drunk. We'll be right back here on Another Side of Midnight. It's me, TJ, with you, the family, on 77 WABC. We'll be right back. 1-800-848-9222.
All night long. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Here on Another Side of Midnight, we're getting you to 5 a.m. The 5 a.m. news hour is ready to roll with Liz Radabali. And then a great Saturday awaits. Beautiful. Going to be gorgeous. And you know what I've been doing alcoholically all week? I've been out of my mind. Talking about, the behavior, right? I will obsess. I will go down a rabbit hole. Like I mentioned, I kind of just sort of threw away a comment a little while ago. I said, I wrap up this weekend. I'm going to see Oasis. My wife and I are going to go see Oasis at MetLife Stadium. And I've mentioned my 13-year-old daughter, Trixie. We had to sell Trixie. We're selling her to pay for these tickets. So yeah, that's the going rate for a 13-year-old these days is 2 tickets to the Oasis reunion concert. Anyway, we'll miss Trixie, but oh my God, cannot wait to see Liam and Noel on the same stage together. But we love Trixie. Anyway, I have been obsessing on the weather for Monday, like out of my mind. Like I am so nuts sometimes that I stop and I go, am I actually a competent father and like husband and, employee of 77W? Does Mr. Katz actually, and trust me with his airway? I'm the same nut who's sitting here and for the 14th time, by 10:30 in the morning on Wednesday that I'm looking at the weather. Anyway, but yes, that is what it's all about, is the behavior. And this week was a wonderful, in the end, thank God, thank you God, it was a great exercise for me. And I mean, I had a lot of lump in the throat moments when it came to my little girl, because I'm just so conscious of how blessed I am. I have an incredible wife, and I only have my wife because, by the grace of God, I'm sober. And this woman, who is the bravest woman that I know, tough as nails, smart as hell, great businesswoman, my wife. And she rolls with me, man. As tough as she is very forgiving. And that's the arrangement. She knows that I love her. She knows that I'm out of my mind. And if that rings a bell, we've got just a minute or two here. 1-800-848-9222. You have to give it up to the people who give it up for you and have your back when it comes to sobriety. I mean, again, too, that, the number one thing is gratitude. I think that's what keeps us most honest. If you're grateful, you can't be angry. If you're grateful, you can't be selfish. If you're grateful, you know why you need to stay in the game and stay sober. If you're grateful. And that also puts you in a frame of mind to, as our buddy just said, hand it over to God. I'm up. I'm awake. God, it's in your hands. I hand it over to you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And, and so I mentioned earlier that, I've also been I got to drop a dime on myself. That's a great AA term or a phrase. Got to drop a dime on myself here. I got to call the cops on me for a minute. I have got to admit that, look, I always talk about the Diet Coke. I definitely lean on the Diet Coke. Is it a mind-altering substance? If you want to be technical and annoying, yes. It's caffeine. Okay, so yes. So shut up. Anyway, allow me this one thing. But I definitely am toeing the line here. I'm getting a little bit too close to an old addiction. I quit drinking 20 years ago. I quit smoking 19 years ago. On my first sobriety anniversary, I just stopped smoking cold turkey. This week, I had a couple of cigars. Yep. Had a couple of cigars. Now, I know there's people out there going, so what? Shut up. Do your show. What are you talking about? All right. Okay. Oh, yeah. You had a couple of cigars. I know. But if you know, you know. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know why I'm grappling with this, then you know. Am I playing with fire? No pun intended. With these cigars. And they're good ones too. And I don't mean like they're good. And they're good. They're expensive. And I enjoyed 3 of them this week. I carved time out to have these cigars. And hours later, the next day, I started thinking about that cigar that I had the night before. And I started making a plan to have that cigar again. Now, I'm not powerless over it. Thus far, my life is not unmanageable because of these cigars. Do I give myself a little wiggle room on this, gang? I don't know. That's the question that will linger over my head as I drive home this morning. Contemplating my own behaviors. Tomorrow morning we shall return and we're going to have a conversation with Dane Wigington, a fascinating conversation about weather engineering, climate engineering, chemtrails. We've all been talking about that for a long time. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk to Lisa Durden about legalizing sex work. That's not okay. And equal pay for women in professional sports. I don't know. My name is TJ McCormick. This is Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. Thank you so much for being there. We'll see you tomorrow morning right here on 77 WABC. Until then, I wish you all the luck in the world.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC.